Something unexpected is happening in Ukraine, and for the first time in months, Russia is starting to lose momentum. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky recently made a statement that caught many off guard. Ukraine is experiencing its best frontline situation in the last 10 months, but how is that even possible? Russia still has numerical superiority in troops, artillery, and external support from countries like North Korea and indirect backing from China. Meanwhile, the United States, under Donald Trump, has reduced its direct involvement, focusing instead on escalating tensions with Iran. So, what is really happening to Russia? 1. Russia is bleeding manpower. The first and most critical problem is simple: Russia is losing soldiers faster than it can replace them. In just the first 3 months of 2026, Russian forces suffered around 90,000 casualties, killed and wounded. But in that same period, they only recruited about 80,000 new troops. That gap is devastating. To compensate, the Kremlin has been forced into increasingly desperate measures. Vladimir Putin has expanded conscription laws, allowing year round recruitment and deploying reservists to guard infrastructure. They're even recruiting foreign nationals from India, Nepal, Nigeria, Cuba, many of whom are allegedly misled with promises of civilian jobs. And then there's North Korea, which has reportedly deployed around 11,000 troops to support Russian operations. But here's the real issue: Russia's strategy, based on small infantry assault groups and attrition warfare, is consuming manpower at a rate that is no longer sustainable. It worked before. Now it's breaking the system. 2. A double technological Uder strike. In February 2026, Russia suffered a major technological blow, actually two. First, SpaceX stepped in. Russian forces had been illegally using thousands of Starlink terminals, often smuggled through third countries. They used them for communications, drone coordination, and even long-range drone strikes. But once Ukraine exposed this, SpaceX activated a whitelisting system, disabling unauthorized terminals. The result? Immediate disruption across multiple sectors of the front. Entire Russian assault operations stalled. Then came the second Uder: restrictions on Telegram inside Russia. The Kremlin pushed users toward a state-controlled alternative with no encryption, allowing surveillance. But Telegram isn't just a messaging app for Russian forces. It's a core battlefield tool. Units use it to share drone footage, coordinate artillery, transmit coordinates, organize logistics. Pro-war Russian bloggers even called the restriction a gift to Ukraine. Together, the loss of Starlink and the degradation of Telegram created a critical vulnerability window, and Ukraine moved fast. 3. Ukraine strikes back. Before this crisis, Russia had been advancing toward key logistics hubs near Zaporizhzhia. The situation looked dangerous for Kiev, but then everything changed. In mid-February, right after these disruptions, Ukraine launched a counterattack. In just 5 days, Ukrainian forces reclaimed over 200 kilometers of territory. By the end of the month, that number surpassed 300 kilometers. That's more than Russia gained in entire previous months. Timing was everything. 4. The drone wall. Another key factor: drones. Ukraine is building what analysts now call a drone wall, a kill zone stretching 15 to 25 kilometers from the front line, up to 40 kilometers deep in some sectors. FPV drones have become the primary anti-tank and anti-infantry weapon. According to Russian reports, nearly 80% of battlefield injuries are now caused by drones. This changes everything. Traditional assaults are becoming suicide missions. 5. Russia is running out of equipment. Manpower isn't the only issue. Russia is also running out of hardware. Since 2022, Russia has pulled around 5,000 tanks from storage. Only 16% of its IFV reserves remain. Around 35% of artillery stockpiles are left. Production cannot keep up. Annually, Russia produces 250 new tanks, refurbishes around 1,000 older ones, but losses exceed that, which is why you're now seeing Soviet-era equipment like the T-62 back on the battlefield. 6. The silent economic crisis behind the battlefield. There's a deeper issue: Russia's economy. After 2 years of war-driven growth, things are slowing down. The International Monetary Fund projects sub 1% growth for 2025 and 2026. Inflation remains high. Interest rates are at 16%. V8 has increased from 20% to 22%. And here's the key detail: over 40% of Russia's federal budget is now spent on defense and security. That's Soviet level spending. Meanwhile, oil and gas revenues dropped to 22% of the budget. The National Wealth Fund is being drained. Industry is running at 81% capacity. Unemployment is at just 2%. Sounds good? It's not. It means there are no workers left for the civilian economy. The war is consuming everything. So, what's really happening to Russia? Russia is facing a perfect storm, losing troops faster than it can recruit, losing critical communication tools, running out of equipment, facing economic stagnation, and being outpaced in innovation, especially in drones. Meanwhile, Ukraine is adapting faster and exploiting every weakness. But let's be clear, this does not mean the war is over. Russia still controls around 20% of Ukrainian territory. It still has numerical advantages. However, the nature of the war has changed. This is no longer about who has more, it's about who can endure longer and adapt faster. And right now, the clock might be ticking against Moscow.